So I'd like to call the meeting to order of the 222 Main Street Oversight Committee. Can I see a second or let me second?
Second.
Good. All in favor say aye. Or
Aye.
we're all good? Okay, good. So Pam sent minutes out for the meeting of February 21st and March 21st. Let's start with the February 21st meeting notes. Any comments on those?
Read them, they're on the
Mhm.
web.
Yep. Has anybody managed to contact Doug Gifford?
I sent him an email. I sent him the link to this meeting and the time, the date of the meeting, but he didn't get back.
Okay.
Is you Pam, have you or Ray included him on the our mailing list, email mailing list?
You know, I don't think we
Yep.
sent out anything this time.
Yeah, I was gonna say he is on our list, but it's my fault. In a lot of transit back and forth. My mother was in the hospital briefly too. That it got dropped off my plate. I apologize. So
Any chance going forward that we could put him on our mailing list, email mailing list?
yeah, I actually think I did add him to it, Len, but I will double check tonight. So
All right, thank you, Ray.
so is there no comments then on the minutes?
I think the February minutes look good.
Okay. So then let's move on to the March 21st one. Pam,
Did you
I
find
think
anything?
on this one, I thought we missed somehow the 100% remedial design, site-wide sediment and soil phase 2 we discussed. And including in addition to the institutional controls.
Yeah, that's the second paragraph of review of documents. We missed what about it?
Oh, maybe you know what? Maybe when I printed it out, it didn't come out that way. So if it's fine with yours, mine made it glitched and it didn't print the whole document when I printed it, maybe. So because I have a
Okay.
gap, so okay.
So it basically says the committee discussed the.
Yeah,
Can
I
do
see
that?
what you're showing.
No, I
Yeah,
can't do that.
yeah. I can't read it, but I can see that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was using my son's printer, and it must have buffered or something and lost part of it. So okay.
Do you want to save these minutes for another time when you can review them all?
No, I'm fine as long as there was other people there, including Fred and Len.
Yes.
So and Nick was online. So actually, Len wasn't there. So, but yeah, if everybody else is agreeable with it, I'm fine.
Yeah, I thought they were all right.
So one of the things that was in that paragraph was that you were going to reach out to Kara and to the library to find out about the documents repository, the documents.
Right. That was a statement that was made. I had reached out to Kara because of the 222 because of the 250 thing. I did not reach out to the library yet, so I need to reach out and go in person. But I actually have a question for the committee on nobody's generating big documents anymore. If I was able to produce a large drawing or that from some document in the library and or town hall was willing to accept it for people to look at it, looking for recommendations of what we think would be a apropos document, for like poster size. So if somebody wanted to go look at it while they have reviewed other documents as they're coming in, to be able to read stuff, because I know, at least for me, looking at this stuff on a laptop or whatever, the charts sometimes can be difficult.
We'd have to find some place to store it, Ray, and I don't think they want to store it here. I've already asked them about that.
But you could probably convince Anka to put it in special collections, so somebody could do that during weekdays.
I'd be willing to go to the library and talk to them about it. I did this what, 20 years ago, and they did have a collection of documents which got moved so many times, I think nobody could find them. They may
The
still be
person,
there for all I know.
so Anka Voss, who is the head of special collections, knows about them, and they are down in special collections.
What's the name?
Anka Voss, ANKEVOSSE. You go down to special collections, but special collections is not open all day, all the time that the library is open. It's open like Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, I think, 9 to 5, something like that.
I have some large maps at home. I could take those
11 by
and as a
17.
sample of what we would like put in the library. I think
11 by
that's a good
17.
idea to put these maps.
Well, so is this something we should try to come up with as a list of maps for next time?
Yes, and recognizing that EPA does not generate anything but electronic copies now, so therefore they're not going to give it to us. Second of all, realize every time they do it, the charts get updated, but at least if it's something that's somewhat current, those who are trying to look at it will have a better understanding of what's going on, and it may not have it would have the locations of well, depending on what we pick, it would have the locations of where the sampling's occurring. So therefore, if that's what they're looking for, even if it doesn't have the current data. So, Fred, if you're willing to go talk to the library, I'm willing to give up that duty, or the tasking I gave myself last month or 2 months ago on that one.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the library can handle it.
We should coordinate with the new land task force, the new land matrix group, or whatever they're called,
Land use, I think.
land use matrix group. Yeah, because they're going to be considering this site for things, so they might have some ideas about which maps they'd like to see available.
Okay.
So
It would be nice if we had more than one copy of each map. Say a master copy, and then 1 or 2 other copies that we could mark up, because it helps sometimes if you can mark up a map, you can see the relationships better.
So, well, Len, I think there's actually 2 purposes. The one for the library, more of I'll channel my wife in her archive stuff thing, is for people to look at and whatever, not mark up, but we can generate some copies for ourselves to bring to the meeting likewise too. But
Maybe the library could make copies if requested.
I don't, so, see, you don't want 11 by 17, you want something
Big.
blueprint size.
I'm thinking bigger, and I'm thinking I'm willing to fork out some of my money going to like a Staples or whatever to get, and I'm making up this thing 2 feet by 3 feet, Pam, is what I'm thinking, and then 1 or 2 of them on a depending what they can take, either rolled up and or on a poster board type thing, depending how they could store it, if they can store it that way.
Well, on thin poster board rolled up, on cardstock rolled up is what I'm thinking, something that will survive lots of people unrolling it and looking at it and putting it back.
Okay.
I wouldn't think it'd be lots of people.
Well, I don't know how many people will do that over 10, 15 years. Having something that delineates what the 5-year samplings are going to do, for instance, might make sense. That the 5-year water sampling where those wells are going to, which, you know, it
Yeah,
actually
so,
says which are which.
well,
So
okay,
let's put it on our list for coming up with what the set of maps ought to be. And the other thing is that we could ask the Maximus for these.
okay, so,
You know, they used to provide them. So before we spend personal or town money on it, we could think about doing it that way.
So,
Um,
okay, so, let's, and I know I'm the one who led the way sort of down this path. Let's go back to the minutes so we can either approve them or make any additional comments on that.
Anybody want to make a motion?
I think the minutes, both the March and February minutes look pretty good. So
To approve?
Yeah.
Second?
So, Glenn, you're making a motion to approve. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, good. Pam, sort of tying to that, likewise, I believe you have a copy of what was emailed to Kara back on March 26th, our letter on regarding the remedial.
So I haven't posted that.
Right, but you
Okay.
do have a copy of it, so it can be posted.
Right, so why don't I post that with the next meeting?
As in this meeting or the 21st of March?
The 21st.
Okay,
So
yes.
no, let me post it. Since we aren't making it public, it isn't public yet. So making it public, we can make it public at for the next meeting. So it'll be there so that we can.
Okay,
Our two, I made comments and you made comments for 2 different documents. So
that's correct. So,
for our June meeting. And I don't think there's anything else we need to comment on right now. I mean, we're gonna see the 95% holding basin soon. But I don't think we have anything else pending, right?
that is correct. The only thing I've seen besides that was the slides for this past Wednesday's meeting, which you all got copies of also.
Right.
And they are posted now on our website.
Okay,
So that's why we got them, is so that they could be posted. And Ebony posted them yesterday, like
okay,
after she should have gone home.
it would be nice if, when we get the 95% for the holding basin, if we have enough time to review that. And maybe have one meeting, between the time we get it and the time that we have to submit comments. Rather than, you only have a couple of weeks, because it's gonna be a big document.
You think we're
I think
we're not gonna get it for a few weeks?
I think we'll get it, but I think that sometimes she doesn't give us very long to review a document. That document's gonna be, will probably take a month, I think.
yeah, well, I understand what you're saying, Lynn, but likewise, as I understand the process, I mean, she does a cursory review. I use the word cursory, and I think it's more than cursory review by her before she forwards it on to us. But likewise, timing is critical in getting these comments back, I think, to keep this process moving. So, what?
So, do you want to hear a review of what happened at the meeting?
Yes, please.
Okay, so, they introduced the 95% holding basin design. They selected a contractor. The contractor, is
Trivio, something
Trivi-
like that.
Trevicos, TREV, Trivlicos, is that how
There
you
was a
pronounce?
couple of eyes in there too.
Yeah, it's like Trivlicos or.
Yeah,
Yeah, Trivicos.
yeah,
Jeff Taylor, who is the head of that, was the head contractor, was at the meeting. That company has done, garage work and tunnel work in Boston, Children's Hospital, Seaport Garages, and, so he showed pictures of the machinery that they will use. So the layout of the holding basin, they will put in basically short sidewalls around where they will dig the long sidewalls that go down to bedrock at each location along the entire length of it. Then they will go through and they will dig out 20-foot sections with 8-foot sections between them that go all the way down. They have a bucket digger that digs the first bit until they get down to the hard stuff, and then they have
bedrock.
to the
Or the
till
till.
actually.
Till.
And then they have this evil looking chewing machine. What's that called?
Hydro mill.
Hydro mill that goes down and chews through into the bedrock. And they have come up with various criteria for how far they'll go before they stop in the bedrock, because you don't want to destroy machinery or waste
Are they
time.
actually going to bedrock? I thought they were just going.
They're
to the
going into
till.
bedrock about a third of the way around in 2 different locations, a third of the way around. The way it works is they will dig with the bucket machine and add slurry at the same time. And the slurry then will get dug out as part of the hydro mill when the cement goes in. And so they will go through and do this like dashes around the outside, a broken line around the outside in these
Right.
20-foot chunks,
20-foot
and that-
panels. 20-foot panels.
20-foot panels, sorry. And then they will go back with the hydro mill to go down and dig and cut into the sides of those 20-foot panels as they dig the in-between spots and fill in. And then that rough edge between from the milling machine, basically digging into the sides and into the bottoms will supposedly make a complete joint that will.
Right, so
Be
we'll
strong.
seal it basically.
They refer to the cement too as plastic cement.
Plastic cement, bentonite cement, so it's supposed to be,
So this is
healing.
the cement that will bond to already set cement?
yeah, but it's also the edge is going to be rough enough that it will have something to hold on to. You know, they're digging out 2
This is
feet
why
of
you
the
need a
side.
cement expert.
This is
Yeah.
why we need a
Yeah.
cement
Yeah,
expert.
okay.
Need a
So,
structural person.
so what they,
Because
so.
bonding wet cement to dry cement is not a thing.
Yeah. So they're hopefully going to finish doing the injections, which are happening now by the end of July. And then start with the digging March 1st, if they've got everything together for that. They seem to be a very professional group. They
Pam, what date did you say they would switch over?
March 1st is when they're hopefully going to start actually digging the outside. They'll move onto the site and start the work on the outer.
So almost a year from now.
It's almost a year from now, yeah.
Okay,
But right now, they only have a 95% design that's they had to have the contractor in order to come up
Right.
with the plan, because the machines are specific to how you do the plan. And so the 95% is being reviewed by EPA. They just got it. And hopefully we will get a look at that too. What that does not actually have in it yet is a construction QC plan. So the construction QAP is something we care about, because we care that they know what they're going to do to dig down there. That they're going to the right place compared to what all of our wells and our testing says and our digging says, and that they're keeping it in line, that they're matching the edges all the way down to the bedrock, that they're getting into the till or the bedrock deep enough where they're doing to do the job. That we need a cement expert.
I thought that the plan that I saw said they weren't going into the bedrock because the bedrock is more porous than the till.
They're only going into the bedrock if the till is less than 10 feet thick.
Oh, okay.
And they said that the way that you tell that they're in the till or in the bedrock is by looking at what comes out of the
Right,
machine,
right.
which I find a little unnerving that that's the QA QC for that part of it.
Yeah,
I like some understanding about how they know they're digging in the right place and how they know they're staying straight going
Right,
down.
they're not wandering.
They're not wandering off, they're
Yeah.
not being bent off, that the edges are actually mating.
I
supposedly the
learned at the
guide
meeting-
walls will tell them that.
The guide walls only go 3 feet deep.
I learned at the
The,
meeting that the
don't
walls
they, the
are,
guide walls go all the way down, well, they go deeper than 3 feet, I think. They have to go at least, because 3 feet, it's easy enough to sway on either side, but
the
I would
initial
think-
wall, I think is 5 feet thick. Which
Hmm?
is encouraging because the joint,
These 5 foot.
it's hard to get a leak through 5 feet of.
Well, but you're assuming that when you dig this part and you dig this part, they don't do that. So this is my, they don't cross. You want them you want this to be digging down along this, between these two walls and actually make the walls meet. And you want to be sure that it went straight down and not sideways, so that when you measure that you're 85 feet deep, that you're really where you think you are, so.
yeah, I would think that the machine is gonna have some type of instrument on it that tells them, almost like a plane,
Right,
to tell them exactly, whether they're straight or whether they're
well,
beginning to shift one way or the other.
I would really like to have somebody
know
that
how
I,
that works,
that knows how this works to be looking at that QA
I'd like to
QC
get
plan.
Doug, if we can find Doug.
Would you think Doug
I'd
will?
I'd like to get Doug,
it's,
yeah.
the QC is a really interesting thing because you're doing a project where you can't actually see what's happening.
Yeah,
Right,
it's
we can't-
underground.
We can't down the hole,
You can't
Yeah.
cut that out and check it, so
right,
you need some kind of instrumentation
Yeah.
that's.
Yeah, but likewise, not my field of expertise, but likewise knowing that when I did testing, when we were putting explosives 200 feet underneath the water based on transducers and stuff, we were pretty confident exactly where it was. So, I mean, different technology totally, but I trust there's instrumentation that
Yeah.
I'm with my son who's the CEC officer today, and my daughter who used to do associated with Shell Oil at that time doing drilling. So I'll ask both of them just their thought process on this later on.
I'd be most comfortable if when they did when they had the first panels in place and they're doing the in-between ones,
Mhm.
if they're actually latching on to the ones that are there and
They
using
are
those.
cutting 2 feet out of those panels on
Well, if they're
either
cutting
side.
then they have to know.
That they're there.
That they're there. So
Right.
that's like a guide, as long as it sounds like they must have something that guides the drilling process so that it's congruent with the panels that are there.
That's,
Hmm.
I want to understand that is really how it works.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense, but I still want to, when they're saying this is
It
how
was
we're
te-
checking that that's happening,
And-
are they checking based on because they're seeing concrete come up instead of
In a-
slurry,
In a
or?
sense, using the installed panels is better than instrumentation.
Yeah.
Than sort of trying to deduce it from numbers you're getting off
Yeah.
of instruments. Frankly.
Yeah,
I would.
Pam, I took your comments about what was coming up more of, and I know they're not per se coring, but like knowing exactly how many feet down it switches from whatever type thing to the till, and likewise switches from the till to the bedrock. They're telling by what material they're pulling up is when they hit various levels, but
right.
maybe I'm interpreting that wrong.
And they're doing that visually. But I assume that they would also be able to tell that they were getting concrete in their dig when they're doing the dig in the, and again, they use the hydromill for those 8-foot, well, it's actually a 12-foot section because it's 2 feet into the wall on either side.
I thought it was 1 foot, I thought it was a 10-foot section.
Okay, I'm not sure. I thought that, I wrote down
I
2
was-
feet into each side.
I was confused, the way that they portrayed it at first, how they were gonna actually put the wall in. And then, they actually, they explained it a little bit better. And I think it would help if we had in the report, the 95%, if we had a diagram or a series of diagrams of how they're gonna do it. Because now, we understand it now, but other people, might look
I
at
hope we
that.
could get something from the contractor since they've done this. I don't know if
Kara
we,
sent out, some stuff, with email. Little, animated drawings.
Yeah,
of,
right, right.
how
Yeah.
Things worked.
Yeah.
I thought those were
No,
educational.
they were helpful, for sure, yeah.
did they describe this process specifically? I didn't see those.
That is, yeah, they don't talk much about the joint. Or the way things are. The way they know they're in the right place.
Right.
But the basic process,
So they described the concept.
Yeah.
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 So I will reach out to Kara and ask her on the timing of when we can expect this document, and likewise timing of when she wants a response, and depending on what we get, we can schedule a meeting from potentially, I'm just picking a date, potentially early June if that's required.
Do you know if Crew has money to review the QA/QC plan?
I'm not sure, what their financial status is.
Yeah,
Um,
or whether Kevin, I didn't see Kevin online, but I couldn't see who
right,
was online.
yeah.
Is Kevin still?
Apparently he is,
Okay.
but, like I say, I haven't talked to Tim Rose or, I haven't talked to Doug Gifford, and it's Rob Van Dyke handles the finances for
Okay.
Crew, so, and I haven't talked to him, so.
Can you find out if they're gonna have a real engineer review that? That kind of engineer?
Just a thought, the grant was it a $10,000 grant or $20,000 grant that we got from Mass DEP? The town got it a couple of years ago
Yeah,
for the task force.
I think they've long since used that.
That should be renewable. It should be renewable every year. Is there any chance that we could possibly apply for that grant again to get it renewed and then use that money to hire a structural person?
I wouldn't mind just having a structural person on the committee, because if I'm saying something that is insanely stupid, then that person can just say, no, you really don't have to worry about that, Pam. There's a dial on the machine that tells you that, and it's trustworthy. That's the kind of thing where I was like, because I want, I don't know, rather than somebody that's paid by the hour to review things and has to go through an RFP and that kind of thing, it would be nice to just have somebody on our committee that had some experience in this for a year.
They're not easy to find, apparently, with folks like that.
I'll see if I can get hold of Ed Nardi and see if he has the right kind of experience. Cause I don't know exactly what his experience is, but he seemed to know
Yeah.
enough about construction stuff
He
you know,
seemed to know, and
that
I looked him up and the projects he's been involved in are very big.
Yeah.
So he would, but I think he might be at a higher level than this,
Fine.
but he might have come from that level,
Yeah.
so.
Right.
Okay, so you're gonna reach out to
I'll-
Ed
yeah, I'll
Nardi
reach
about
out to
joining the
him.
committee. We have plenty of space on the committee,
Yeah.
so. If we could have Ed or we could have Doug also join us if he wanted to join the committee for 2 years,
Yeah.
just while we're
I
talking
still
about
don't know
this
whether he
thing
lives in Concord or not.
anymore.
Okay.
Oh, okay. You think he might be acting?
I'm not sure.
Right, okay. So Len is reaching out to Doug Gifford.
Doug Gifford.
Nick is reaching out to I could have a chat with Alan Carhart about whether there's somebody on one of the other committees in Concord already that might. I don't know whether he knows anybody on Public Works or something that might be. We had a guy, when we were the Article 41 committee, remember? We had this guy, Peter something,
Um.
but that was
a long time ago,
23
a
years
long time
ago,
Yeah,
25 years ago.
yeah.
You're talking about committees I don't think I ever remember hearing about.
So before it was a Superfund site, we had a town committee that reviewed a risk assessment that was done for the holding basin remediation, and we set up our own air samplers and had them evaluated and we had $25,000 from the town that we spent with the technical review of the risk assessment and with the processing the air sampling results during the holding basin removal. So it was before it was a Superfund site. And it was a committee that was a public town meeting article. So the committee got named after the article. And Len and I were both on that.
Like the Article 27 committee?
Article 41 committee, yeah. But so there was an engineer back then, but I don't know whether he's even still in Concord at that point, at this point. Can you think of anybody that you know of, Ray, in Concord that's this sort of level of engineer?
Not in this not in this type of field. I mean, most of the engineers I know tend to be on the electrical side that are living in
Yeah.
Concord.
I know a bunch of environmental engineers too, but this is not the same. So. Do we have nobody else has joined this meeting, so.
No.
Terry's gone, so,
Is it
I don't
gonna
know
be Paul,
who's
maybe?
gonna be. I
Who's
don't know
gonna
whether
be-
it's gonna be Paul or not. So I guess they decide after town meeting who's gonna be the liaison to each. So.
Since I don't have it in front of me, when is I mean, I know it's in June, but when is it in June?
June 2nd, Monday,
Okay. So
What is it?
town meeting.
I'm just thinking when I made the comment about moving the meeting earlier for if we get something from EPI, we do have to factor in town meeting.
Well, I think there's no way that they will insist that we do it that she's gonna get it turned around and then make us turn it around faster than our June meeting. I think we'll be
She
able.
usually allows 2 weeks. She usually gives us 2 weeks to prepare comments.
Right. So we'll ask the
This
question.
isn't-
Not gonna be enough, that's not gonna be enough time for this document.
Well, and honestly, I feel like this document is gonna be fine if it still doesn't have the QA/QC plan. That's the part that we're really caring about at this point. And we've litigated sort of everything else. And is that not how you feel too, Ray? Or I guess we have to see it.
We have to see the document to see what's in it and stuff, and likewise, then ask the question. So, and
I'll have to say the question I didn't ask that I wish I had was how noisy is this gonna be and how much vibration is it gonna be for people's houses? I don't know if anybody's complained with the foundation removal that they've been doing. Maybe it would be consistent with that, but I would think once they're chopping into bedrock but then again, they're fracking right now and I haven't heard any complaints about that
Yeah,
either.
that's different than grinding.
Yeah.
But it's a
That
hydraulic
grinding's
process.
90 feet down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounded like it was a hydraulic process, like hydraulic mining. We just
Well, there's a
really
lot of stuff going
pressure
down and stuff going up.
high
That's
pressure
liquid at the same
water
time.
fracturing the rock and stuff.
Oh, the fracking is like the mine. The stuff they're doing now to put the iron in is like fracking, so. Well, is there anything else that we're doing today?
Just a thought, it really has nothing to do with the 95%, but, I've been reading, getting some articles from the Interstate Technology and Regulatory Committee. I get those from my credit hours for my New Hampshire license. And they're coming up with these weird, microchemicals now. And one of them is from, tire rubber. It's quinone or something like that. And I'm just wondering, and there's also some microplastics too, that are very, that may be present at very low levels. Is the Maximus planning on, sampling for those chemicals during the 2026 sampling round?
So so the question is 2026
Yeah,
sampling,
and I'll find out the exact name of those chemicals.
microplastics.
Microplastics, and then there's the tire rubber, a chemical that's derived from tire rubber. That's starting to show up and,
That would be in.
that's more of a
Starbucks,
surface, that's more of a surface water thing.
Yes, right.
So are those related to the PFAS sampling they're already doing? I mean, I would
That's
think the
not
tire
PFAS.
rubber stuff would be.
That's not, what he's talking about isn't PFAS. I
Yeah.
don't think it is from.
No, it's not PFAS, it's
And
got
the
another name to it. I'll have to look it up.
microplastics isn't PFAS either. I mean, it could be, but.
That's what, little plastic balls with. chemicals
Microscopic, yeah, like
embedded.
nanoparticles
Yeah.
practically.
I would-
Small enough that there are probably some in your brain and my brain. They're finding them, that they're in the human body, these microplastics.
I believe it.
Yeah. It's like the PFAS.
So that's, so you're gonna find out for us
Yeah,
to be
I'll
talking.
get the exact names of those chemicals, yeah,
So let's talk about that in the fall,
okay.
after we've done the holding booth. And are there drinking water guidelines for these things?
I don't think so,
Not yet.
yeah, they're pretty new.
And
They're
would
finding
they,
these things as the laboratory detection limits get lower and lower.
affect the pump and treat system? So, I mean, those are the two questions
These rubber, chemicals in rubber are more of a problem for surface water
Mhm.
and, toxicity to, fish, particularly salmon. I haven't heard of it being a problem in groundwater yet. The microplastics, I just don't know enough about.
Well, the fact that there's PFAS at the site and that the PFAS was never used, that they know.
PFAS is in the it's in the air.
Well, again, so something gets into the groundwater from
God knows where.
the rain and from,
I mean, they don't have an obligation to clean up stuff that had nothing to do with the, what was done there, right?
yeah, but they have rules about what they can discharge after they pump and treat
Oh,
too.
yeah, okay.
So, and there are also rules about how they can dispose of the charcoal pre-filters that they use.
Yeah. I
If they're
saw
full
that.
of PFAS,
I
then
saw
that's,
that comment, yeah.
so far they haven't had an issue. They haven't found anything
But once PFAS is in the filters, then it's a lot more expensive.
to remove it, to destroy it. Are we done?
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything else,
Yeah.
but anyway,
So what day is our next meeting scheduled for?
I have down as, could this be correct? June 20th?
Right.
That's right. That sounds about right.
Okay, so,
Yeah, that would, yeah,
That's a Friday,
that's the third Friday.
third Friday.
Yeah, so.
And if I'm not mistaken, there is an agenda already in place for June
There-
20th, but not after that.
I believe that is correct. There is one for the 20th, but I will have to go back and check on I don't think there is a July one. I think we had done the March, May, June ones when we initially filed the 3, so.
Right. So we'll talk at the next meeting about when, it's also possible that we might change our meeting time if we get some new members.
So, yes, so,
Did you want to mention that you were going to be gone?
Oh, yeah, so this is my last meeting. I have been a liaison from NRC and my term is up in NRC, although I might hang on a little bit longer with NRC, but I'm not gonna be around much this summer, so it seems like it's a good time to drop out, so.
Oh, that's too bad. We're gonna miss you.
Well,
Yeah,
Too late for a farewell party, I guess.
I actually enjoyed the conversation, so
you can still come to the meeting.
I will keep myself aware of the
Yeah.
meeting. Keep me on your list.
Yeah,
okay, we will. Thank you again for
for all the help,
For
yeah.
your service, thank you.
actively involved.
You were actually a big help when we were doing the what to say about what grows on top of the holding basin and what we want for institutional controls and what is reasonable and what isn't reasonable for certain things. And that was very valuable. Thank you.
Thank you.
So you picked a good time to be on the committee. So,
Yeah, it's probably a blessing that I didn't know I don't have the credentials that you folks have in your technical fields, so
well, I don't have
I
any
have a certain
credentials.
distance from it, so sometimes I can see what to say.
Okay, so if that's it,
Okay.
then do we want to adjourn the meeting?
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second,
All right,
aye.
Aye.
okay.
Thanks, Ray.
Thank you all.